The newest title in the series uses poetry to speak of the simple, sturdy, reliable love of best friends. School is in, and I remember how much I detest September. New classroom I have to scout, new teacher to figure out, new and harder math to learn, numbers make my stomach churn. New bullies to face or fear. Perhaps I should slip out of here. But then, beneath a boxing grin, and all my gloomy thoughts go spinning. Poetry speaks of new love. What's a little kiss between friends? A fire that burns the world away and leaves everyone new. There's no love like young love, but poetry shows us the very first blush. Outside a flower shop, Jewel waits. Her school bus will soon come. John Paul, the cute boy next to her, nervously starts to hum. He holds a rosebud in his hand. He twirls the stem and breaks it. But still he offers it to Jewel, who giggles first, then takes it. Twice in one day I'm going to shoot you. Find her English book. 10 times that day she eyes her gift and sighs with each long look. First love is amazing, but mature love is not to be outdone. Poetry tells us so. He pulls her close, she strokes his face. Their thoughts fly to their starting place. The sweethearts dance the day they met. He still remembers, she can't forget. The music plays just like before. The brave sweethearts, young once more, whirl and dance, dance before. Of course, love is not poetry's only domain. As an opera, life's drama includes both high notes and low. Poetry helps us navigate the shoals, steers us past the cliffs, catches us as we wander too near the edge of despair. Poetry reminds us that we are not alone. On the dark side of the moon, where death comes sooner than expected, at the edge of heartbreak, we both take a leap into the unknown. At the corner of loneliness, we dip into a pool of tears and thrash around, desperate not to drown. We both reach out for a life preserver, something to hold on to, something sturdy, something new. That's when we see it, a buoy called friendship, bobbing up between us. And we meet there, somewhere in the middle. My love of language must date back at least to the age of 5, because by the time I was 6, I was writing poems and stories. By then I also discovered a magical and marvelous place called the library. And it was a place of magic. I flip the pages of a book and slip inside where crystal seas await pirates' hide. I find a paradise where birds can talk, where children fly, and trees prefer to walk. Sometimes I end up on a city street. I recognize the brown-skinned girl I meet. She's skinny, but she's strong and brave and wise. I smile because I see me in her eyes. Books were my friends, and the library was where I found them. Consequently, in many ways, the library feels like home to me. I was born in Harlem and grew up in and around New York City. I lived in every borough of New York except Staten Island at least twice. And so I visited many different libraries through the years. The main branch of the New York Public Library was one I especially enjoyed visiting. It was far away from where I lived, though, so I didn't get there very often. But it stays very strongly in my mind. Anybody who has seen Beauty and the Beast, you remember that magnificent library that Belle had. Well, I'm pretty sure, I'm convinced, that Disney sent his artists to the 42nd Street Library to do sketches, because that's what that library reminded me of. 42nd Street Library. The library is no place to kneel, but this cathedral of books feels holy. I observe a moment of silence at the entryway. The librarians, like ushers, point me in the right direction. I've only been here once before. That first time, I was a human top spinning dizzy in the middle of the hall. I thought all visitors should bow or fold their hands, do something special. But I was too dazed myself to do more than gaze up and up and up and sigh. The quiet signs posted everywhere warned me not to speak. And why would I want to? It looked to me like all the good words were already taken. I spent long hours at the library. I'd go there and borrow 5 books and read them and bring them back and borrow 5 more. And I was the kind of kid who went to bed with a flashlight so that I could read after the lights were turned out. No one ever had to force me to read. With a war zone at home and gangs on every other street, the library was my safe place. I went there to read mysteries and myths and legends. I went there to read plays and poetry. I went there to dream. Yesterday I visited my favorite spot in Queen's Park 3 blocks away. I crept as far down the bank as my leather loafers would let me without slipping. Then I pulled up a slab of rock and sat beside the Harlem River. I couldn't see the mouth of the river from where I sat, but I could hear it talking. It told me I'd be a famous author someday, that my arm would be worn out from signing autographs everywhere I go. And my fans will beg me to name the characters in my next book after them. I'll smile, promise you nothing, then say, I'll keep that in mind. Which just goes to show that even though Harlem is not as old as the Nile, it'll do for dreams. And I dreamed of being a writer. I knew from the time I was 6 when I first started that that's what I wanted to do. But not everybody shared my dream. Many people in the neighborhoods I grew up in said, writers don't come from around here. You want to do what? And they'd laugh. You'll never get published, they said. You'll never make any money, they said. Girl, you'll never get anywhere writing poetry. Well, some form of poetry has taken me twice to the Library of Congress, to the White House, to the Kennedy Center, and lots of places in between. So I'm thinking they are wrong. It pays to step about your dreams. So it was bad enough people in my neighborhood and at school, laughed and thought I was never going to do anything with my writing, but my own mother thought it was a bad idea. Whenever I was talking about wanting to be a writer, she would say, writers are a dime a dozen. Why not do something practical with your life? Like teach. Teaching is a wonderful profession. I had done some teaching over the years, and teaching wasn't what I loved more than anything. The thing that I most wanted to do was write, and she just didn't understand that. Writers are a dime a dozen, a dime a dozen, a dime. I heard those words one time too many from my own mother, who worried I would fail and said, find another dream instead. But my heart scripted one phrase truer. Someday, should be proud to say, be proud to say, be proud to shout out loud, my daughter, the writer. And she is. Fortunately for me, there were a few people in my life who did share my dream, and my sister Carol was one of those. She would let me wake her up time and again in the middle of the night, 2 a.m., 3 a.m., so that I could read her the poem I had written that day. Sis, wake up, I whisper in the middle of the night. Urgently, I shake her till she switches on the light. The spiral notebook in my hand provides her quick relief. It tells her there's no danger of a break-in by a thief. Okay, she says, then props herself up comfortably in bed. She nods for me to read my work. I calmly, then forge ahead. The last verse of my poem leaves her silent as a mouse. I worry, as she says, we have a genius in the house. Go for it. You're a genius. You can do it, you say. And those who we tell believe us. Words are powerful. They can do great good or great harm, which is why we have to be careful of the words that we choose and how we use them, whether they're written or spoken. We've all heard the expression, sticks and stones may break your bones, but words will never hurt. And I have nothing against that saying. I had lots of exercise, lots of experience in that day myself, because I was teased that having skinny legs and teased about all kinds of things, but there's one thing that's wrong with that saying. I say it all the time, but what's wrong with that saying? It's not true. Words can hurt. Words are very powerful things, and they can not only hurt our feelings, but they can break our heart. There they go again, Lord. My mom and daddy screaming, and I wonder if they're meaning half of what they say. God, please make them stop. Is there something I can do? Maybe try real hard to do what my mom tells me to. Maybe stay out of the way. Try to be one less problem and not one more. When we hear our parents fighting like that in the next room, slinging words as if they were stones, it reminds us that words are feeling things.
I did it, Mommy.